While the Ottomans were masters of land, their true power surged across the seas. The Mediterranean was alive with trade, piracy, and naval warfare. From the early 16th century, the empire sought to dominate these waters, protecting their trade routes and projecting power far beyond Anatolia. Enter Barbarossa Hayreddin Pasha, the legendary admiral whose name struck fear across Europe. Born on the windswept coasts of Lesbos, he rose from pirate to fleet commander, his ships cutting through waves like blades. Under his command, the Ottoman navy controlled the Mediterranean, from the shores of Algeria to the gates of Venice. Barbarossa's genius was not just in combat, but in strategy. He united scattered naval forces, innovated ship design, and turned coastal fortresses into launch pads for Ottoman dominance. Venice, the mighty maritime republic, trembled as Ottoman fleets blockaded its ports. In one stroke, the empire secured not just territory, but influence over European trade and politics. The seas were also theaters of diplomacy. Treaties were signed on deck, ambassadors traveled by galley, and even European monarchs learned that the Ottomans were masters of both war and negotiation. While the empire expanded its borders, its heart beat in culture, art, and learning. Istanbul became a city of wonders. Mosques soared into the sky with minarets piercing clouds, their interiors adorned with intricate calligraphy and tiles that gleamed like sunlight on water. Suleiman's era was a golden age for the arts. Architects like Mimar Sinan designed mosques that were more than buildings, they were statements of faith, power, and beauty. The Suleymaniye Mosque, with its vast domes and harmonious proportions, reflected the genius of Ottoman architecture. Artisans thrived. Miniature painters illustrated the lives of sultans, jewelers created masterpieces that dazzled courts, and poets like Baki and Fuzuli penned verses that would echo through centuries. Literature, philosophy, and science were nurtured. Scholars translated works from Arabic, Persian, and Greek into Turkish, spreading knowledge throughout the empire. Even the common markets were a cultural mosaic. Spices from India, silk from China, and carpets from Persia created streets alive with color, scent, and sound. Musicians played the ney and oud, merchants shouted their wares, and storytellers wove tales that blended history and myth. The Ottoman Empire was not just the realm of sultans and soldiers, it was a living, breathing world for millions. In towns and villages, life followed rhythms dictated by seasons, faith, and community. Morning prayers echoed across cities. Marketplaces came alive with traders, and festivals brought people together in celebration of life and culture. The social fabric was complex. Muslims, Christians, and Jews coexisted, each community managing its own schools, religious institutions, and courts under the overarching Ottoman law. The millet system allowed for diversity while maintaining unity, a sophisticated solution that many modern empires would envy. Education was prized. Madrasas taught science, literature, and theology. Boys trained in logic and swordplay, while girls learned household management and arts. Medicine thrived in hospitals funded by the Sultan, where physicians treated patients using knowledge drawn from centuries of accumulated wisdom. Food was a story in itself. Ottoman cuisine blended flavors from across the empire. Fragrant rice with spices from India, rich stews with Anatolian herbs, sweet baklava layered with nuts and honey. Coffee, introduced from Yemen, became a social ritual, with coffee houses serving as hubs for debate, poetry, and news. Festivals were a kaleidoscope of color and energy. During religious holidays, streets were decorated with lanterns, fountains were lit, and the air filled with the scent of incense and freshly baked bread. People gathered to watch wrestling matches, horse races, and martial displays that celebrated skill and courage. Music and dance were everywhere. The mehter, or military band, played drums and horns that inspired troops and awed citizens. Whirling dervishes performed spiritual dances that seemed to lift the soul, blending devotion with artistry. Even the Sultan participated in spectacles. Hunting expeditions were not just sport, they were displays of strength, courage, and leadership, symbolizing the Sultan's role as protector of his people and land. But life in the empire was not always light and joy. Secret alliances, political rivalries, and whispers of conspiracies added tension to daily existence. Merchants could rise to power or fall into ruin depending on favor with officials. Families navigated the delicate balance of wealth, influence, and safety. Stories abound of hidden treasures in Istanbul's streets, secret tunnels beneath palaces, and coded messages sent between allies and enemies alike. Children played in courtyards where swords once clashed, and bakers unknowingly walked over the stones of ancient battlefields. The past and present intertwined in every corner, giving life a sense of both wonder and mystery. For outsiders, the Ottoman Empire was a land of fascination, exotic, grand, and sometimes terrifying. For insiders, it was home, filled with hope, ambition, struggle, and celebration. The Ottomans understood that an empire is more than conquest. It is culture, society, and the heartbeat of daily life. From the grandeur of the Sultan's palace to the bustling streets of the bazaars, every stone, every story contributed to an empire that lasted over 6 centuries. And today, as we walk through Istanbul, Bursa, or Edirne, we can still feel their presence in the architecture, in the cuisine, in music, in language, and stories passed down through generations. The empire may have fallen, but its spirit continues to shape the modern world.